Dear comrades and friends of the Belgrade Forum, dear participants of this great conference, it is with pleasure to salute the organizer of this important event to remember the criminal violence perpetrated by the imperialist powers gathered in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization against the peoples of the former Republic of Yugoslavia. The World Peace Council, the anti-imperialist international organization of peace movements, expresses its solidarity with the victims of that aggression and congratulates the Belgrade Forum for the World of Equals for maintaining the memory and its effort to our common struggle against imperialist war and injustice. We are proud for having Belgrade Forum for a World of Equals as a member of the World Peace Council and glad to share common values and goals with you. The aggression that NATO launched on 24 March 1999 imposed 78-day systematic bombardment on Yugoslavia. It was a brutal aggression against sovereign organized country that struggled for economic and social progress, for the coexistence of the diverse nationalities that confront it, a peaceful country that had not offended any country's sovereignty, not the regional peace. The war on Yugoslavia was one of the many events in the current world, showing that the world peace, diplomatic balance, institutional order, international law, and the entire UN system built after the Second World War are targeted by the frequent violation by the enemies of peace that aim to impose their hegemony on the world through force. Behind all the media and diplomatic pretense, NATO sacrificed Yugoslavia for the sake of new order, a premeditated aggression, a war that was announced a decade earlier based on the disintegration of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia after the counter-revolution that wiped off the European map, the socialist system. We can only understand the meaning of the US and NATO's action in Yugoslavia through an example of the global strategy of the US and NATO imperialism. Already at that point, in practice, US imperialism, with the behavior adopted during the Rambouillet negotiations, declared that the UN's obsolescence. NATO planned thoroughly the creation of the Kosovo protectorate as it did earlier with Bosnia-Herzegovina. NATO's war on Yugoslavia was the imperialist Western powers step to execute a strategy of world domination, using a region of Europe as the landscape for the future plans. Part of the move was NATO's expansion towards East, with a steady integration of the countries that were previously part of the Warsaw Pact. By waging war against Yugoslavia and forming the creation of the Protectorate of Kosovo, which would later become supposedly autonomous national state, US imperialism created territorial enclave in the Balkans. NATO had then 19 members. Today it is about to count 33 if we consider accomplished the most recent and fast-paced accession protocols of Finland and Sweden. 5 weeks after starting to bomb Yugoslavia, NATO approved a document that opened up in a new stage and which extend to the current days, defining its new strategic concept. The concept to face supposed asymmetric threats and threats of terrorism was aiming to secure the vital interest of the multinational corporation and the Western monopolies and their profits. Throughout the last 25 years and in subsequent summits, this concept has taken up new features. The current and ongoing war on NATO with Russia on Ukraine soil is providing the aggressive nature of the biggest war machine in history, despite the complexity of this conflict and the aims of Russia itself. Dear friends, our conference today takes place in a period whereas an entire nation is suffering from a slow genocide perpetuated for 75 years. The Palestinian people, who is being deprived of its inalienable right to have their freedom and own state, is suffering for more than 5 months from a brutal aggression of the occupier state of Israel, which does not hesitate to kill innocent children and women in Palestine Gaza Strip. The almost near to 40,000 Palestinian victims who lost their lives, the 75,000 injured, and the complete destruction of the Gaza Strip have converted Gaza Strip from an open-air prison into a graveyard of thousands of children. The Israel regime is not hesitating to use hunger and starvation as a tools of war in its aggression. The massacre did not start because the Palestinian people stood up on 7th October against the occupation force and its army. It is an expression of the accumulated anger and frustration of people which is being oppressed and harassed in all its territories. As World Peace Council, we denounce the world to all peace-loving people on the planet these genocidal massacres of Israel and its army, and express our full-hearted solidarity to the brave Palestinian people who struggle for their dignity and right to an independent state within the border of pre-4th June of 1967 and with East Jerusalem as its capital. We demand that the release of the more than 7,000 Palestinian prisoners from Israel jails and support the right to Palestinian refugees to return to their homes based on the UN Resolution 194. Dear comrades and friends, NATO, which in India we said notorious aggressive treaty organization, not North Atlantic Treaty Organization, with all its military and political apertures, it is grave threat to world peace. Since it was created 75 years ago, it acts like an aggressive organization to contain the progress of the people's struggle. Today, it becomes more evident that NATO actions are criminal against the humanity, the attacks on the peoples and on the nation's sovereignty, now are advancing to different continents. The Madrid summit of NATO, which was participated by new countries from our region like Australia, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, and many other countries from different regions, are changing the face of NATO to a tattoo. What is the tattoo? Tattoo means Transatlantic Treaty Organization. So it is no more based in Europe. Now its aggressive nature is already clear today. NATO, a war machine, seeks to strengthen its own militarist and aggressive character as an instrument of the US and US imperialist power for their intervention wherever their ambition of plundering the people's wealth and impose their domination demand. The struggle of disengage from NATO and its member states and for NATO's dilution on global level is part of the platform of people's mobilization, that of social and political organization that promote peace, social justice and progress. It is one of the World Peace Council main banners materialized in the campaign Yes to Peace, No to NATO, in which all members are engaged. Aggression and intervention can never be tolerated. Therefore, we express our solidarity to the struggle of the people which are being targeted by the USA, NATO, and European Union. In particular, we reiterated our support to the Cuban Revolution and the peoples who defend bravely and in dignity their right to choose their own path of development against the criminal US blockade, sanction, and interference in its domestic affairs. While we remember the 25th year since NATO's aggression, pay our respectful homage to the victims of the 78 days of brutal strikes and its lasting consequences. We reaffirm our unwavering commitment, our steadfast resistance with building a world of peace and social justice as enshrined in the founding principle of the United Nations Charters. Hence, we strengthen our common and joint struggle for the nation and the people's emancipation, for the end of war and aggression, for just and lasting peace. In our 75th anniversary, the World Peace Council stands firm in the struggle for a world of peace and social justice, always on the side of the poor and oppressed. Down with the NATO, long live the people of Serbia. Thank you.